to say, okay, let's not do this, let's push the election back. Is that what we want to do? We want to push the election back? Because that's what it seems like. If we can't agree on 2 precincts on the other side of the room, when there's other people that have to take on 7 precincts or more, I think the last map, the disunity map, was 15 changes for me. That was fine for people. So let's be honest about what we're doing here and about compromise and what people are supposed to be taking. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councillor Flynn, you now have the floor. Council President Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I also was going to talk about compromise. I don't think, probably besides Councillor Baker, I had as many moves as anyone on this map that impacted District 2. And I certainly compromised, and that's what I wanted to do coming into this assignment is work with my colleagues, give a little, take a little. 8-1 and 9-1 were not part of a recent map. I was the one that advocated for those 2 precincts to be in, and I had to give up a lot of precincts as well. I had to give them back because I was overpopulated, and as was another district. But I think if people are still willing to compromise and focus on their districts and what they can do to make their district work as part of this redistricting process, instead of getting involved in every other single district. I've only focused really on my district. I think it would be disingenuous for me to try to get involved in every other district across the city. But what I'm willing to do is compromise, give a little, take a little, and I hope my colleagues are willing to do that as well. Just not sure if that's going to happen. And as it relates to the election, in 1983 the election was pushed back. At least the preliminary was pushed back a period of time. But I do hope we're able to get to a vote tomorrow. And I hope we're able to treat each other with respect as well tomorrow. And I think this process here, even though it's been heated at times, I think it was, for the most part, it was respectful. But I just hope we're able to do that again tomorrow afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Council President Flynn. Councillor Flaherty, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just looking at it through a citywide lens, sort of the D5, D6 conundrum could possibly be solved via D7, D8. So I want an opportunity to maybe take a look at that tonight to see whether or not there's a move or two that makes some sense. I don't think pulling from 4 is the answer. I don't think pulling from 2 and 3 and 4 at this point, but there may be a path via D7 and D8 if there's a willingness to try to resolve that. I'll also mention, and just want to make sure it's noted for the record, and this is really for those that are viewing at home, that a number of folks had testified. They were part of, I think they call themselves the Coalition of Interveners. And I just want everyone to know, as of right now, as at 8 o'clock on May the 23rd, there is no intervener right now. A motion has been filed. That motion has not been assented to by all of the parties, which means that a hearing date has to be set up 14 days from the date of filing. So I think if folks are viewing at home, they may think that there's an active intervener, and that's just not the case. So I just wanted the facts to be known on that one. And then also to our colleague, Councilor Braden's point, she had mentioned that one of the first things she did was reach out to the plaintiffs in a prior matter, and just to the chair, just recommend that or suggest to you as chair that whatever in terms of as we're coming to a sort of finality, or at least moving in that direction, that we reach out to the plaintiffs via our counsel, corporation counsel or defense counsel, to make sure that we're sort of satisfying some of the concerns around the injunction. So those are my points, Madam Chair, and I appreciate your patience and your work today and this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. Councillor Murphy, you have the floor.
Thank you. Mostly for those watching at home, I do just want to clarify the data I shared earlier and questioned where it came from. It wasn't a phone a friend, but from the vote builder, which is updated from the Secretary of State. Ward 20, Precinct 8 has a total of 1,067 population. 1,038 live in zip code Rosendale 02131. 29 live in 02132. So that means 0.027% live in West Roxbury. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Arroyo.
Very brief. I just want to make sure for people
You
watching at
brief.
home. I'll be very brief. For people who are watching at home, it was stated that the federal judge said that we acted in bad faith. I want to just quote from the order. It says
Yep, she
the
did
role
say
of
we
race.
acted in good faith.
Yeah, she says specifically the role of race in redistricting is complicated and in flux, and the court finds that the city council acted in good faith in trying to comply with complex voting rights law. And so I just want to make that clear, and I also just want to state for people at home who are trying to figure out how many precincts move and why they move, that the main reason we are here is the one person, one vote, which is a population imbalance situation that we have between District 2 and District 3. The amount of precincts that they moved is not simply because they were more willing to move them, but because they had to, out of necessity, move some districts and pick up some precincts and pick up some precincts. So give some precincts, lose some precincts, and that is it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, you have the floor.
Thank you. First, I just wanted to speak to some points that my colleagues brought up. I mean, naturally, if my district had gained a lot of population and needed to shed, then I would say, well, I have to compromise because I have to shed a whole lot. So I have to change. There has to be some sort of change, manipulation there. And if my district was under population, I would say, I am compromising. Well, there has to be change. You have to gain. So I do think that we've gotten to a point where folks are a little bit more compromising than the previous times because they're seeing that there's cooperation in uniting neighborhoods in their district. But then when it comes to diluting votes in other people's districts or compromising other people's neighborhoods, then that's okay. Well, that's a sacrifice we have to take. Well, why not? And then when we talk about in terms of disenfranchised communities and who takes the brunt of or the short end of the stick every single time, this map shows that we're clearly supporting some because a map that's designed by stacking votes is not a map for the people. Because if you allow the at-large councilors to advocate for districts more than its own district councilors, and it's solely based on the fact that they want to make changes that they've heard from people, supposedly, and the district councilors from those districts are saying, hey, look, I know this area because I'm closer to the district, I'm on the ground, I'm there all the time, I live there, and I know this district more than you do. I'm telling you that this is it. Not only that, but you're also closest to the constituents because you hear the advocacy, you're working, you're organizing the district. And then when we speak the truth or we opine on different positions or we express our positions, then it becomes a thing about, this condescending tone of whether or not we can be kind, nice, or respectful. Frankly, it's rude and condescending. Like, please stop. We don't have to be told we're adults, we're professionals. We're here, and people are being respectful, and people are not aggressive, and people are communicating. Sometimes some of us get loud, and even I have gotten loud in the past, right? Everyone can see it on YouTube. But I am saying that if people express their opinions or people are communicating, we don't have to be condescending. Like, we know how to be respectful. expressing the truth is not rude. It's just an opinion. So learn to deal with that. Then there's the part about education that I heard. It's true. We know that, especially for communities of color, especially for disenfranchised communities. The poorer you are, the more you are lower in socioeconomic class, the less access you have, the less education you have, the less you can advocate. This is a known fact. And so a lot of people are relying on us to make the right judgment. We can't build a map because we're going to get to a result. Because if I do this move, you will vote for this map. And I need to be successful tomorrow. I need to close this out tomorrow. That is not putting people first. There's just one issue. If the court is saying, fix what happened to D3, or between D3, D2, and D4, fix that. Why are we all the way in West Roxbury? And then the other part is, if my district, and we know socioeconomic class, we know the average income, we know Roxbury, we know D7. So how about we just, a historic opportunity district, how about we dilute it a little bit more and take the sacrifice of adding all the way 78,000. Thank you for changing that, but still, the numbers are off and it's still not balanced because the choices to give D1 what they want, the choices to give D2 what they want, the choices to support certain communities. Listen to the communities that you've united. Listen to the communities that you've united. You've united some of South End or most of South End. You've united Chinatown. Yes, you have.
The South End?
Yeah, most of it.
Okay.
Have you not? Most of it. Have you split it up?
The South End is still not united in this map.
How many counselors does it have? Does it still have 3? 4?
There are 3
Does it have
councilors.
3?
There's 3 councilors.
Okay, a little bit better. So it's a little bit better. You responded to South End. You responded to Dorchester. You responded to, or maybe it's Chinatown. You gave Chinatown, you're putting Chinatown because advocates, because everything they wanted. You gave Roxbury, thank you. I mean, you are diluting it by adding the population there, but you gave D3 and everything Dorchester wanted. And now West Roxbury supposedly for my at-large counselor, you're giving them at-large counselor, he gets, because he's gonna vote for it tomorrow. Mayor who is advocating for something in moving those pieces, go compare it to Mayor Wu's map. You're doing that here in this map. You're diluting Mattapan, even though you agree with all of those points. And I don't know what your changes are gonna be, what you're gonna recommend, so I can't judge yet. But it's just one point of contention. And you can be brave enough to move it, they'll vote for it. They'll vote for it. What's not fair is that they'll say to you, if you do this right here, even if it hurts this district, I'll vote for it. And that's the politics in this room. That's what's wrong with this process. And I agree with you. It should go to an independent body because this is absolutely ridiculous. So now we have to rush it. And I would really, really like you to answer me. How many neighborhoods have you united and how many have you diluted in this process? Like, how many have you split up in this process? Like, do you know? Do we know a number? Can we compare it?
I don't have that, but I will state, if you want me to respond to something that you stated, that this map will incorporate parts of different maps that were offered. And so to the extent that that has happened, like, that's happened, right? Like, there have been parts of the maps that were offered that had good parts that were incorporated into as we moved along.
Yeah, I guess I guess I'm wondering, that's again, like, I guess I'm wondering, why do certain counselors that are not even district counselors get a more say on the districts? And they're telling you, they're saying, look, I'm closer to the ground. I understand this district. This is what I'm advocating for. Because tomorrow, we know exactly who is going to vote for it. Because they're getting changes and it's not even their district. They're getting changes that they're asking for. They're saying, I'll vote for it if you mess this up right here, if you do this move. And so that's the problem, is that people are not honest. Like, for example, if I speak the truth, then some colleagues will pull strings and try to hurt me. And they've done it before. So the thing is that I'm going to be honest, because it's going to, shake up some people. When they say things, we can't be sensitive. As me, you know who I am. I can't be sensitive. No matter how much they hurt me, no matter how much I get put in situations, I'm not allowed to be sensitive. And I'm telling you that we know that some people can't even advocate on this because they don't even understand it. Our people don't understand it as much because they don't have the access. If they had the money, if they had the access, but we know that it's a huge responsibility. How can we in good conscience do that? And I have to sit here, shaking my boots, because if I speak the truth, then there's going to be retaliation. Maybe the map will change. Maybe somebody's going to try to hurt my family. That's the stuff that happens in this council. And I'm looking at you and I'm asking you, do the right thing. A lot of people are depending on us. And just so that you can get the vote, it's not right. You know that District 5, if it's an opportunity district and it elects the people of their choice, and this is not about Council Arroyo, but when we did get a person of their choice, when we did get a Latino man that fights for equity, no matter how much of whatever people think, how does the person from that district fight for that district or on the issues that we care about? And so that's what this politics is about. I think that's what Councilman here alluded to in terms of politics. And everyone here has their right to express. I don't even hear it, unless it's really about the subject. But when they start attacking or doing their back deals and trying to hurt me or other people, I just ask God to protect me. Because this is that dirty stuff that we talk about. This is the stuff that happens here. And you don't need to do that to get those votes tomorrow. You can do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Mejia, you now have the floor.
Thank you. So I'm going to say some things that have absolutely nothing to do with this process, for the record, Judge, and those who are listening. I just want to be really clear. I'm speaking for myself right now. I'm just teasing. I'm teasing.
Councilor Mejia, can I just say something?
No, I'm not going to say anything. Actually, I was just joking. I was just prefacing building up the drama just because that's who I am.
Because everything that's stated is part of the record.
Yeah. So I remember in 2020 when we were advocating for police reform, it was my first political aha moment about how people negotiate against the better interest of the people that put them in office. And that lesson was a hard one. It was so hard that I'm still feeling the impact of that betrayal. And I have seen the way political negotiations happen, whether it is in the budget, whether it is for the president council vote, whether it is for anything. And what I would be really disheartened is that all of this is in the name of political aspirations and moving forward and doing political favors, compromising the integrity of what this exercise is supposed to do. So I am still concerned and still unclear as to why, if the assignment was to address the issues of 2 and 3, why are we talking about 4, 5, and 6? No, excuse me, 5, 6, and 7. Like, I don't understand how we ended up there. And that's the question that I asked 5 hours ago, and that's the question that I'm still leaving here with. It feels to me like everything that is happening right before our eyes is all about political maneuverings and compromising the integrity of what this body was elected to do. And that is to represent the people. And right now, I feel really uncomfortable. And while I understand, Councilor Louis-Jean, that we walk into the chamber not knowing what votes we're going to take or what's going to be at the floor, but this whole process, the entire journey from beginning to end, for me and for those who follow me, understand that at the end of the day, there's so much politics happening right now, and it is disheartening. And I agree with Councilor Anderson, is that when we try to communicate or express ourselves, I know Councilor Arroyo can talk forever, and we appreciate that sometimes. But I have to say that Councilor Lara and her ability to bring in the data and the numbers and to really hold our feet to the fire in terms of what this moment is all about has been incredibly awe-inspiring. Because what it has taught me is that when you lead without politics and you lead with this is what it looks like, then you have to question the entire exercise that we have just gone through the last few days. If you have yet to say and agree, or at least help me understand how these compromises are going to be made, it's almost 9 o'clock at night and I'm still here trying to figure out your why and understanding how we ended up butchering D5, how we ended up in 6. How did we get here when the exercise was to fix the situation in D2 and D3? What compromises are we making and who are we carrying water for? Now, people have brought Michelle Wu into this situation, and I don't know if Michelle Wu has anything to do with any of this, but I will say this, and I know she's probably listening, I'm not moving water, I'm not carrying water, and if she's afraid because I'm a progressive and I'm gonna be challenging her and the things that she's trying to bring through this chamber and she wants to water down the people who are gonna be sitting in this seat in the future because she feels like maneuvering districts is gonna give her more power, then I say shame on her too. I just wanna make sure that as we continue to move through this process, we're not doing this with unintended consequences and trying to water down our ability to represent people here. And I feel that there is something here that is greater than all of us at play, and I'd like to be able to figure out what that is.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Councilor Arell, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do agree with some points that Councilor Fernandez Anderson has said, that this is, a lot of terms getting thrown at the public, and education is a very big part of this, having the public understand what's going on. And one of the terms that has been used by a few councilors often is racial polarization of voting, or I might be saying it wrong, but just kind of...
Racially polarized voting, RPV.
Yep, RPV. Can you, Councilor Braden, can you speak to, in Duchin's analysis, did she say that black voters voted the same as any other demographic?
Dr. Hanley's
Dr.
report.
Hanley.
She said she said minority communities don't necessarily vote cohesively. That was the
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to thank all of my colleagues. It is 8 o'clock, past 8 o'clock. I didn't even notice, 8:25. And we have central staff that has been here. I want to thank all of them for all of their hard work in this very expedited process. I know it doesn't feel like it, but I do feel like we are closer. I'm going to be taking into account public testimony, conversations with my colleagues, and we will be voting on a map tomorrow. I will just say that, several folks have stated what Judge Sarah stated, that this body acted in good faith the first time, and that the role of race in redistricting is complicated, and that understanding and unpacking the Voting Rights Act is a complicated act. I say that as a person, as a practitioner, and so I appreciate all the comments, and we will be in this chambers tomorrow to do the work. Thank you. This meeting is hereby adjourned.